This is the Doctor bringing you Star Traders Frontiers. This is an indie game in which you play as a captain of a spaceship flying around a galaxy, and it's basically an open world sandbox game where you can do pretty much anything you want. There's a wide variety of things, like you can be a bounty hunter, a pirate, a zealot, military officer, explorer, spy, merchant, all sorts of things that you can do. And what sets this game apart, there are a couple of things. One, it's got a very steep learning curve, but once you get past it, it can be really satisfying. So my goal with this series is to give a tutorial for the game, because it doesn't really have a tutorial. Yeah, I learned to play this by more or less reading the wiki, and it took maybe like, I don't know, 100 hours before I became an intermediate player. I still don't think I'm an expert at this, so a very, very high learning curve, but I enjoy that type of game. Two, the dedication of the developers. This game is incredible. Since it's been released about in 2018, as of the time I'm recording this, there have been 193 free updates, including multiple major updates that added a significant amount of more content to the game, all for free. So very, very impressive work by the developers. And the game, I must have picked it up for maybe 10-15 bucks or something like that. There's often a Steam sale for this. So it's a really good deal if you're into this type of game. So let's go ahead and get started. I feel like it will take something like 5 to 10 hours just to explain the basics of the game. But what I'll try to do is in each video cover a major aspect of the game, or at least my understanding of the game mechanics. So in this first video, I'll go over creating your captain and assigning the initial talents for your crew. So captain's of course the most important character. I'm gonna make a bounty hunter character who is good at crew combat and who has some potential for ship combat as well. And I'm going to go ahead and use one of my templates I already have available and just talk through all the various parts to it. And you'll see when you're creating a character that there are 5 categories that matter. You can, for instance, choose what is the most important category. I've chosen attributes. You could do something like move the ship category up, and that way you can buy a better ship to start with. But you'll have fewer attribute points to play with. So attributes are sort of the stats of your character. In a traditional RPG, stuff like strength, quickness, or dexterity, fortitude, constitution. This is, in a way, pretty self-explanatory, and there's some help text that talk about what these things do. But what attributes really do is they affect crew combat, the physical attributes on the left, and the mental attributes affect your outcome in missions and in dice rolls. This game is pretty much all based on dice rolls, and I'll get into that in a future video. But you can think of these as the long-term potential of your captain. There's very, very few ways of increasing your attributes. And if you make your captain with the best possible attributes, there will be that captain will be much more successful in the long run. So, because I'm going crew combat, I want, and I'm going to use rifles, I want to up my strength. This is used for rifles. It unfortunately doesn't tell you in this help text. It's also good for like melee characters, but you definitely want strength if you're going to use rifles. I'm going to max wisdom here. Wisdom is used in crew combat for initiative. It's also using some of these other tasks as well, but the crew combat is very, very important, the initiative in the crew combat. Then I'm going to put myself to 25 charisma, some resilience. 52 points. I like to do this. There's probably a more min-maxing way of doing this, but something like this I think can be successful. Then for ships, I'm going to go ahead and pick this ship, the Palace Interceptor. If If you just purchased the game, you unfortunately cannot get this ship right off the bat. You have to fulfill an achievement. Good news is this achievement, Perfect Contractor, is very simple. You just have to do a bunch of missions and you get it. So if you can pick the various ships here on this screen. One thing to note is that it doesn't quite contain all the information about the ships in this interface, unfortunately. There are two very important attributes known as speed and agility that are not shown here. Suffice to say, the Palace Interceptor is one of the fastest ships. It does tell you in the help text for it that Palace Interceptor is an agile attack craft well suited for spying at enemy worlds, armored and equipped for long-range combat. Yeah, this ship is really good at long-range combat. And damage evasion. It's also very good at dodging. So I like this ship a lot for combat. The strategy will be simple. We're going to go ahead, equip ourselves with torpedoes and missiles, pummel a ship from range, and once it's crippled, we'll moving and board it. That's the general strategy. It's also got really good armor and shields in case I do get hit. A lot of these other ships, like say the Paladin Cruiser, doesn't have much armor or shields, or this Frontier Liner. Some of the bigger ships, I believe, even something like the Guardian Interceptor doesn't quite have as much in terms of armor and shields. The main weakness with this ship is it's got very low cargo, 25, so it's hard to make a profit when you're just trading. It also has a slightly smaller crew than some of the bigger, better ships. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use this Palace Interceptor here for the ship. Skills are these are just kind of like RPG talents is not the right word, but like stats. So for instance, you have 5 rifle skill, you're better at using rifles. In a way, they're pretty self-explanatory, so I split it up a little bit, get some rifles and evasion to dodge. These personnel skills can be really important as well for characters who are not going to do combat, but if you're going to go and do combat, I feel like you gotta take pretty much all combat skills. Contacts are basically quest givers, and I like to get you can get a lot more contacts as you play the game, but you get 2 to start, and I like to pick one who can give you specialist gear. So the Fixer here offers the ability to buy specialist gear, and that can be very nice to buff your combat crew by equipping that gear. So the other character I really like, the other contact, is a politician, because they offer these diplomat recruits, which are very useful when you're doing ship combat to prevent reputation loss. Basically, as you fight enemy ships, they'll get pissed at you, but if you have a diplomat, you can smooth things over. It's a useful ability. And then lastly, experience. If you up your experience, your crew will be stronger right off the bat. But I think experience at level 1 is fine. You can get experience pretty easily, in my opinion, at least in the early game. So experience is more like if you prioritize this, you'll be stronger off the bat, but potentially at some longer term cost. Might as well save this template, and let's go ahead and launch as this character. I'll change my gender and uniform. I like this uniform. And now the default map is fine. You can roll random maps and so forth. The faction, this matters a great deal. There are, I think, 9 factions you can pick from, and each faction has its strengths and weaknesses. The help text for the faction will tell you some information about this. So, for instance, this particular faction, the Steel Song Clan, is the most powerful great house from a military standpoint and commands an impressive array of assassins and mercenaries. So that's what we want to do. We want to be fighting other crew, being hand-to-hand combat. And the Steel Song starting crew members tend to be stronger, and they have better traits and better stats for crew combat. That's why I'm picking them. So other good choices, I think the Kadar tend to be pretty good as well. They're another military faction. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Steel Song. Plus, I think this is technically like the Bounty Hunter clan or something like that. Because the special rules is this blood badge thing that is basically what the bounty hunters use. So since I'm playing a bounty hunter, a bit more role-playing there. Difficulty, I've only ever played this game on Impossible. There are a wide variety of difficulties you can pick from. Impossible is really hard. You will die over and over and over again and over and over. It is really, really hard. You could be playing around for like 10 hours, things are going well, and then bam, one fight you're not prepared for, it's just over. So this game is, at least on this difficulty, very unforgiving. And I like that sort of game. So let's rename myself. I always do the manual talent assignments, and I don't care about the introduction. I'm going to skip pretty much most of the dialogue in this game. This is not a game you play for the story. You play this for the open world nature of it. So let's go ahead and get started here and roll into the galaxy. Alright, I'm going to skip all this dialogue. Now, before I get to anything else here, I'm going to go ahead and open my crew manifest. The next video I'll probably talk about the rest of the galaxy map, but this video will be going through the crew. So, your ship, of course, has a wide variety of crew members, including your captain, and then you got these officers, like this doctor here, this quartermaster, and this engineer, and so forth. So, and then you got your regular crew members, like this crew dog and this other this soldier here. These are just regular crew members. Officers tend to be better. They're more capable. You'll notice that if you open a character, let's go back to this doctor here, that there are attributes just like your captain, but they don't contribute to any sort of missions. So what that means is I tend to care about the first three attributes, strength, weakness, and fortitude, because those matter in crew combat, whereas the other attributes do not. This doctor, unfortunately, is not very good. You can see the initiative here. Initiative is really, really important on a doctor, and a little disappointing that your initiative is low, but we can still work with you. Then we have a quartermaster. So what I like to do at the very beginning of the game is first I'll sort by job, and then I'm going to go through all of my non-officers to pick out additional officer candidates. I like to make my officers the away party, the crew combat specialists. I think it's more effective that way. They tend to be stronger as well, but you don't have to do it that way. So what that means is I like to go through all my other characters, and I'm looking for good attributes and also combat skills and good initiative. So this character is no good. Once I find a good character, I'll point out this character has some potential because of your 6th doctor. I mean, that is a lot of doctor potential. Now you'll notice this skill has a 0 and a bracket with a 6. If you hover over it, the tooltip will explain at the very last sentence. For standard crew without a dependent talent, this represents only potential if promoted. In other words, the number 6 in the bracket only matters if you're an officer. This is true for stuff like doctor, stealth. The only thing it's not true for is combat skills like evasion, blades, pistols, etc. But for the most part, you need to be an officer to take advantage of the numbering brackets. And these numbers and what like doctor does, what stealth does, I'll explain that probably in the next video. Suffice to say, at this point, I'm still scanning through to look at crew combat characters. This character, doctor, is used for healing. You need a healer in crew combat. So I'm going to put a star by you because you're a good candidate. This character is kind of meh. I mean, you have some rifle, but your initiative's terrible. You have really good pistols, but pistols also use quickness. Still, your initiative is not good. Your initiative is not bad, but I'm really looking for characters with better initiative than this. Nah. This is interesting. Mostly because of the two blades. Blades is it's an interesting quirk to look at, or not quirk, a skill to look at, because if you have a blade, you can equip as an officer and pistol and a blade combo, and the offhand blade allows you to parry melee attacks, which can matter a great deal. As a healer, you just want to be very tanky. So that's an interesting character. Here's another good one. I don't like this rash. Minus dodge, minus parry. That's not great, but fleet-footed. I've only ever really seen this particular trait as a steel song, and it is so good. Plus 10% initiative. And some extra dodge. Plus you have 5 evasion. You're definitely an interesting candidate. I'll put a star by you. You have pretty good initiative, but meh. Nope. Nope. You have terrible initiative. Man, I am not having a lot of luck here. Characters with good initiative. Meh. 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 Yeah, you got some extra rifles and some good. So you could be a soldier I keep around. You're also meh. Wow, that's a lot of blades. Very interesting. Unfortunately, most of my crew were not very excited about. You have good doctor, and your initiative is not the worst. You have interesting abilities. You have the one doctor, which is met. Your initiative is better. And the 2 blades is the most interesting thing about you. And then you have just phenomenal. Plus the 5 evasion. That's pretty huge. I don't like this rash though. Minus parry, minus dodge. Ugh. That's not great. Although fleet-footed kind of cancels that out. Plus you start with 5 evasion. That's so huge. Alright, I'm going to pause the video here a little bit because I want to look through my crew again to see if I missed anything. Alright, so I looked through my recruits again, and these are the 3 officer candidates. And after some thought, I've decided to go with this character, this crew dog, Caitlin Fox here. And the reason is your initiative is okay. 11 to 20 is not great, but it's enough. I mean, ideally, I want a initiative like this. This is what I really want. But you know what? We're going to have to work with this. And the reason is because this 6 stealth and 6 doctor, that's an interesting opportunity here. The 6 doctor in particular is very nice as a backup healer. And 6 stealth allows me to spec into something like either assassin or spy and take advantage of that high stealth. So it's because of these skills that I've decided to pick you. You would have been another good solid choice, but your skills aren't as impressive. So you're going to be my officer. So now I'm going to go through my various crew and actually do the promotion. So on my bounty hunter, I already know what I want because I'm going to be doing crew combat with you. Steadfast aim. You'll notice that as you're picking these talents, these are, you know, just like in RPGs, the abilities you can pick for your character. There are a wide variety of different abilities or talents. You'll notice some of these have a little ship icon, and this one has a little sword icon. The ones that have sword icons mean they're only usable in crew combat. The one with ship icons mean only usable in ship combat. And then there's various other talents like these skill saves, which are used on strategic map, on the galaxy map. But since you're going to be a combat character, steadfast aim is a very, very strong attack. It's an attack that buffs yourself with a lot of extra accuracy and damage, so that seems good. This is just one of the best combat talents in general. Next, I'm going to go to my doctor. You'll see, again, other variety of choices. I never pick assisted care. The cost for healing your character is almost nothing, so that doesn't really do much. I pretty much always pick medical staff. I'm going to need field surgery for crew combat, but until I'm not going to do crew combat right off the bat. I'm going to do some missions to level up, some easy missions. Once I get leveled up, I'll definitely want healing. But for now, I'm going to pick medical staff. This is what's known as a skill save talent. And you'll want a lot of these, especially in the early game. What happens is as your ship flies around the galaxy, all sorts of things happen. And we'll probably get into it in the next video. But those things are represented as skill tests. And if you fail one of these tests, these talents can save you from the negative effect, at least once every 3 weeks. And you're going to have plenty of doctor tests, and you're pretty much always going to fail them early game due to the fact that you have like one doctor and no med bay on your ship. So this will allow you to save some basically damage to your crew. I pretty much always go for medical staff on my doctor right off the bat. The engineer. This is a character. I also thought about who else I want to bring to crew combat. So my captain, a doctor, the third crew member I'm promoting. Honestly, the rest of my officers, this engineer and this quartermaster, they're both not great at crew combat. The quartermaster especially has basically no potential for crew combat. Engineer has kinda a little bit of potential. You got your 28 quickness. Quickness is good since it's good for dodging attacks, but you're otherwise very unexciting for crew combat. Anyway, as an engineer, I want to get them up to level 5 as fast as possible. You're probably going to splash 1 point into military officer as a job, but jobs, by the way, are basically the character classes. As you can see, there are a wide variety of jobs available. Officers and your captain can specialize in 3 jobs. All your other crew can only do 1. So for your officers, you can mix and match any combination of these, although you probably want to pick combos that synergize together. So I'm probably going to go military officer with you and sometimes bring you on crew combat. But for now, I'm just going to pick up this ability, port maintenance. This navigator is going to get fired right away, so I'm not even going to bother assigning your talent. This quartermaster has quite a few different skill saves. Stern Leader is very solid. It's one of the few fail command skill saves available in the early game. The other really good one is this Baleful Grimace to pass fail intimidate tests. But there are other ways of getting this, and pretty much only one way of getting ability to save a command test failure. So I'm going to pick this Stern Leader. Now the crew dogs, I always go for safety protocols. These pass what are known as fail ship op tests. The ship op tests tend to have the most negative failure consequence. So I really want to make sure I pass those. The electronics techs, probably going to fire one of these. But for now, let's pick Hotwire. On this screen where you're picking talents, you can click next to go straight to the next character. You'll notice the name of the character changed. So I already know I want 3 Hotwires, 1 signal jammer, and 1 alert scanner. I'm probably going to fire the last character here. Oh no, you're the one getting promoted. All right. Well, that kind of works out. Let's see, gunners. I'm gonna fire some gunners. We don't need too many gunners, but for now, I'm gonna pick up 2 of these bullseye certainty. Well, you can do boarding assault, and I'll pick up a bullseye certainty to pass the failed tactics test. Probably gonna fire a gunner. We don't need too many gunners. Let's see, mechanic. I always pick the failed repair test skill save. Careful testing, very useful. Navigators. I want to do this. The read charts. I also actually want to pick one fast getaway to, in case I somehow get into a ship combat early game that I don't want to do. This is a ship combat talent that allows you to have a much better chance of escaping. It's good to have one of these in your back pocket just in case something goes wrong. Or piloting. Let's do, you can do sure landfall. I like to have one of those early game. And then the pilot test. And then 3 pilot tests should be good. Now, for my other combat crew, I think the Pistolier I'm just firing because you're terrible. This rifleman is, I mean, both of them, both of these soldiers are bad, but I'm definitely gonna fire you. You're also pretty horrible, but yeah, I'm probably gonna put you in the front with a shotgun. If you go on the equip section, you can change your gear. We can buy better gear at some point in the game, or pretty soon actually. But for now, I'm just going to change our weapon to a shotgun. Shotguns can be used from close range or up front. I'll get into the crew combat stuff and what these dots mean and so forth in a future video. But for now, I'm just going to change you to a shotgun and train you in shotgun talent here. Then I'm going to fire you too. This swordsman I'll keep as backup. You have a lot of blade. That is very interesting. So let's do this sharp counter ability. It's pretty nice. Balanced blade is also very good, but this gives a little more defense. Alright, so next before I even get to this planet here, I'm going to land on one of these worlds, and I'm going to shuffle my crew a little bit more. I'm going to fire some people, hire some more. Let's land on this. This particular system has 2 planets I can land on. This system to the right, the high-tech industrial world, has way more like economy, starport, military. Basically, it's a bigger planet. You can tell because all the bars are bigger. And this one, the population is also bigger. And this is a much smaller planet. So the bigger planets tend to have more recruits and stuff. So there are 6 recruits. We need 1 crew. I didn't fire anyone yet. But let's go ahead and start firing some of these characters. This navigator is going to be pretty useless. Bye-bye. I already know I do not need this pistolier. Do not need this particular soldier. I was gonna fire one of my gunners because I don't need 4 gunners. And when I'm deciding who to fire, I look through their traits to see. Sometimes these characters will have like this: gossip, gregarious, and quick to make friends. Gain of charisma, % chance to learn a rumor when spicing. That's a positive trait. Whereas a lot of these other traits, at plus damage, armor, etc., that's irrelevant. Because I'm never going to use you in crew combat. It's only relevant if you're an officer candidate, and frankly, very few of these characters are. I mean, this is probably... I mean, they're both pretty bad. So, you know what? Let's get rid of you. You also have the bullseye certainty, so on my last gunner, let's pick that up. Oops, and then I want to go back and filter on the character who I'm going to promote. You. You can only promote, of course, if you have officer slots available. It costs some money. Good thing we started with 14k because usually on Impossible, I think you only start with 2.5k. We get some extra money because the ship we bought was under the cost of the ship, so we get some of that money back. So I'll do that. I'm not actually going to train your talent because I don't want to pick up any of these crew dog talents. I'll pick up I'll pick up a better job for you, and then we'll pick up these crew dog talent. We'll pick a talent from the better job. All right, now we need some more crew. I'll get into what these numbers mean exactly in the next video, but for now, all you need to know is, unless you intend to do ship, everything needs to be above 100%, except for crew, obviously. And gunnery doesn't matter unless you intend to do ship combat, but everything else should be above 100%. So at the very minimum, we need a navigator to get that up. Then I want to hire 3 crew dogs and a gun deck boss. And I think, oh, we can actually technically recruit one more person. And the reason for this is the 3 crew dogs I am going to train in safety protocol. Because I find you need lots of safety protocol early game. Eventually we'll probably start firing one or more of them. Then I picked up this gun deck boss for exactly one reason, because they have a level 1 skill save for failed intimidate tests. You pretty much always fail your intimidate test early game. Later on, you can be okay. Having at least one of these is useful. And we just need another navigator for our ship. So, yep. And I think that is about it. I could fire one of my electronics techs and hire someone else. Let me check something real quick. Electronic techs add 4 to electronics, so if we fire one, we will be still above 100%, but it's a little dicey. It's a little dicey to do that. And the only other character I would pick up is another gun deck boss to pass those intimidate failed tests. Let's see. I mean, you can be fired probably. Well, you might have some potential here. And you're an officer candidate. In case one of my officers die, I definitely don't want to fire you. I mean, none of these are really all that exciting. You're probably the most expendable. I could fire you and pick up a second gun deck boss. That's probably the correct move. It does make things a little dicey in the electronics department, but I think we'll be alright. I'm much more likely to fail those intimidate tests, and I don't need 6 electronics tech. That's just too many. 5 is good. So who was I going to fire? I was going to fire you. And a lot of these temporary crew members I am going to fire. Like these 2 gun deck bosses, they're not going to be around for long. They're just useful in the very early game. I'll replace them with better characters later on. Alright. So, 34 minutes into the video, I've finally set up my captain and my crew just the way I want it for the early game. And in the next video, I will go through what this screen means, what all these numbers mean, and actually fly around and do some stuff. Last thing to do is we should rename the ship. You can change the name. Palace Interceptor is just the class of the ship, but the question is, what do we want to call this warship of ours? And I probably need a little bit of time to think on that, so I'll name this in the next video. But yeah, thank you for watching. Until next time.